Hello and welcome to another episode of Seddon and Laceys Comic Stash. And it is that time of the month again to look into our crystal balls
Still
and
haven't got the
see
crystal ball.
what is coming in September.
I want to say it's an order, but I'd be lying to you guys. I've ordered nothing.
Props
Wonderful.
department is disgraceful round here.
Yeah, and on any of our stuff, so be it this or be it any of our music stuff, there's often times in a video where I'll go, wouldn't it be great if we'd have had this? But things only ever cross my mind once we've started recording. And spoilers for people, we're recording this on a Friday evening, so I think all the crystal ball shops are shut anyway, so I don't think I'd have been able to get one in time. But
I don't think you're taking this seriously enough.
yeah, probably not.
But instead of
but
kicking
but
you
but
for not getting a crystal ball, let's instead get into our corners and decide and decree what we've been reading in said corners.
hit the music, and we're back. How much you got for your corner?
Just the
Have you got much for your
one.
corner? Oh,
Just the
I've
one for
got
the
just the
corner.
one as well. What a pleasant just one in the corners we're going to be this week. Do you want to go first?
I will let you go first, as I normally go
Well,
first at the minute.
I've been reading something bright and shiny and new. And I say bright, shiny and new, probably a month old at this point because it was on DC Ultra. So, and I believe the releases are a month behind, but we talked about it in the last 2 months of solicitations. But I
Mm.
read the first issue of Night Terrors, the First
Ah,
Blood. Now, kind of where I am with reading DC, I've gone back to the New 52 and I'm reading up to that. So I don't read a lot of the stuff that's coming out other than Poison Ivy, which is awesome. Um, but it was an event, and we knew it's like this 2 month event, and I went, "Oh, come on, it's on there. Try that first issue." And first things first, considering we're going through Sandman at the moment, and we've recently kind of worked our way through it. Lovely little treat early doors where one of the primary characters that moved the story forward in about the first third of it, I'd say, is Dr. Destiny, who we last saw playing a pivotal role in the first volume of Sandman. So
yes.
regardless of what they do with him here, it was just lovely because we've had that recent experience and the issues that we loved to see him again.
Mm.
But yeah, this kind of fleshes out, I think, what the rest of the event is going to be. And Dr. Destiny is looking for, I'm going to say a stone, but not the stone that he normally is. It's the Nightmare Stone. And the Justice League. Now, bearing in mind where DC is at the moment, there isn't a Justice League. So you've got Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman kind of meet up at the Hall of Justice, but the Hall of Justice is a bit of a tourist trap at the moment. So it's not
Mm.
being used for that, but it's being used for members of the public. And the other main character in this first third is Deadman, a character I really like. He's a dead man. He can kind of go into the bodies of the living, but he has this kind of spectral, ethereal kind of element to him, and he's sensed that there is a ghostly spirit. There's something probably more palpable and powerful than he's used to,
Mm.
and he kind of detects that it's attached to Superman, and that leads him to come to the Hall of Justice, and he kind of goes, "Oh, it's attached to all of these." I won't go into too much about where we go from there because I think, like, partially, I think you might really like this. I think
Yeah.
it is probably steeped in quite a lot of DC lore, but I think it does enough to kind of go, "This is what you need to know about this DC lore. Come along with the ride." But as the issue goes on, other characters get involved, like Harley. She's in it. She plays quite a role in it. But this first issue sets up whom the villain is, but also sets up what I think all of these two-parters are going to be. So
Yeah.
effectively, by the end of the issue, it focused on kind of heroes, but I think a large part of the world has been put to sleep. And then I think in these two-parters, you're going to see what happens in their dream stroke nightmare worlds. And then I'm guessing at the end of it, we'll rush to and some of them get out of their dream stroke nightmare worlds and probably face
Yeah.
down the villain. But do you know what? I thought as a first issue of an event, it did enough for me to go, oh, I will read through some of this. It doesn't really give you an indication of what people's nightmare worlds are going to be, except for Bruce's. They do a bit around Batman's, but you go, okay, let's see. It's almost, I think, letting him to do a nightmarish world, nightmarish version of Elseworlds for every character in the DC universe,
Hmm.
and explore kind of more spooky, horror vibey sort of stuff. But yeah, a decent first issue, enough to make me want to come back for some more.
Yeah, I am waiting for the whole lot to just go on, and then because I did see
Yeah.
that the first one was there, and I was like,
Well, and I think the first issue of the Batman one is on there as well. Like
oh,
so, but yeah, I just read the first
yeah,
issue, but yeah, I think I'll be with you on this. Is I have read that first issue, I liked it, but I think I'll wait till they're all on there and then start churning through it afterwards.
yeah. Because I mean, with that, it's one of those of if I read just that first one, I'll be like, well, I want more now, and then when they're all then on there, I'll be like, oh, I can't be
Yeah,
asked now. Whereas
but
if
bearing in
they're all there, I can then jump in. If I'm enjoying it, do it all. If I'm not, I'm not.
well, we said in the solicits, didn't we? Like we go like, and we'll do this in a minute when we get to it. Of going like kind of what's floated our boat, what's excited us, what we're really into, and I think we both said like, good luck if you want to get excited about about DC for 2 months if you're not kind of into the night terrors. But we both sort of said, but it will depend what it is, and I like what I read in this because I think there are a ton of two-parters, aren't there? A ton of
I think
two-parters for all
I
these
think everyone
characters.
gets one.
Yeah, but I think what you'll be able to do is, if you like this, be able to jump into those two-parters and probably make a determination on each one within 5-10 pages of going, this this particular part of the story I'm enjoying enough that I want to read all of it, or I'm not enjoying it, so I'll just bin this one on and move to the next one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's probably a good design by that part.
Yes. So what I've been reading
Yes,
came from you, my
this guy.
second of my birthday presents, California Volume One. So, vampires.
Philadelphia.
Yes,
Yeah. I mean, different American place, but yeah, Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. I said California. Why did I say California? Oh, that's the name of the
Well,
Lamb
the
of
thing
God
is, what I was going to
album.
say as well, it kind of does fit, doesn't it? Although, having said that, I think Philadelphia is really smart as well. But yeah, it is much closer to California, isn't it? So
Yeah, that's a Lamb of God live CD. Was California.
maybe inspirational. I don't know.
But yeah, so at first, I will say the first start of this, I was like, not sure on this. It starts quite slow, and I was like, what are we doing here?
What
But
what what are we doing?
once it starts, fuck me, it cat picks up and goes.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a little while since I've read it, but
Mm,
like you said there, I kind of remember once the ball starts rolling, it doesn't stop, does it?
no,
Even to the point at the end of the first track, because I've read the same amount of you have, and I know there's more issues to come. Even to the point where at the end of it, I was almost going, slow down a bit, lads. You might be going a little bit too fast for me here.
yeah. So the premise is John Adams of the beer and second president.
I like it. I like the beer first. I think that's apt, isn't it?
Is not dead, but he had got yellow fever whilst on holiday in the Caribbean
Yeah,
after the war and him stepping down as president, which turned him into a vampire. And as such, he has been courting making more vampires, and having a little underground sect that have lived for a couple of 100 years,
yeah,
and is now taking over the poor parts of Philadelphia in a plan to take over all of Philadelphia and then all of America.
yeah.
In a
I
nutshell.
loved it. I loved it. Like
Yeah,
it seems so simple, doesn't it? And I couldn't say that no one else has done it, but certainly it's kind of my first experience of a story tapping into an American president of old
Mm.
being still around and doing this. And I think it just made a real, I mean, that was a real big hook for me. Because I was like, okay, what are you going to do with this, lads? And yeah, I thought it was fascinating. And it almost made me go, why haven't people done this before? Or why haven't people done it in things that I've seen before?
Well, there's a couple of like Abe Lincoln like weird B
Vampire
movie
Hunter,
horror
though, isn't he?
films,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and things. So some of them do get
Well,
pulled up, but
and you know, like you say that because that did cross my mind, the Abe Lincoln Vampire Hunter. But I think I liked that it was John Adams. That they didn't go for
the obvious
insert
ones,
insert your most famous presidents here, like, but any of them, like they didn't go for Lincoln's right the way up to Kennedy's or Nixon's or anything like that. They went
mm,
for albeit the second one, but not one that I think people come up with their top five presidents that they'd name for ones they know.
yeah. As I said, I did really enjoy this, and I will pick up book two at some point in the future
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
because yeah, I definitely want to find out more because how the first trade ends is open as hell of like where the vampires are going, but you've got also got a close of the main the big arc in this with being the main guy's dad who
yeah.
gets turned. He his story is done, but there is so much other shit still
Well,
going on.
you sort of said about that pacing of the first issue. Like a lot of that first issue is you are introduced to you, aren't you, to like our protagonist, and he's a cop, but he's kind of come to the city because his dad has been a cop, but his dad's dead, and he's kind of being pulled into that. And to a degree, early on, it's a lot more about, I guess, fleshing that out, but it feels a
Mm.
little bit police show procedural, but
Yeah,
like a darker, grittier police show procedural, but a police show procedural nonetheless. And as the kind of issue goes on, the oddities and the weirdness that would come with a world with vampires start to get introduced. And I'll be honest, like on halfway through that first issue, I thought probably by the end of six issues, we there might be some acknowledgement from this guy that vampires do exist. But yeah, when that ball
yeah,
starts rolling, there's no fucking about, is there? It's like
no,
vampires exist, bang, 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 they're everywhere. Da, 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 da.
go.
One of the things that really sold it for me about really liking it and continuing it is I don't know what happens next. But it feels like for me is that they might do some really, really interesting stroke crazy stuff. Like I don't feel like anything's
Mm.
out of bounds in this story, and the idea of trying to start a second American Revolution. It wouldn't shock me if there isn't a second American Revolution in this, and it makes me want to come back for more.
Yeah.
Rodney Barnes, the writer, he does TV. He did a lot of the writing for the Wu Tang TV show, which I do like. And Marvel's Runaways, which I liked, and American Gods,
Mm.
which I liked the first season. Um, this is the first comic book stuff I've read of his, and he's made the list. Like he is now, and I know there is another series that he's subsequently started at Image, but he is
Mm.
now on that list of going. If Rodney Barnes is writing it, I'm coming along for the ride.
So it's one of those I will definitely be picking up the second book at some point in the future.
Yeah, for those who like vampires, jump on it.
Yes.
For those who like kind of horror stuff, even quiet police procedurals, jump on it. I think it's really good.
Yes. So we shall go into the future
The
and look at
future.
what it will be gracing our local comic shops in September.
Well, and hope, and at some point, what will probably be our reading corners.
Yes. So as always, we will start with Marvel.
Marvelous. Do we want to just go like kind of one t'other? Like you go, and if it's one I've picked, we can jump in, and then like I'll
Yes.
do the next one, and so on and so forth. Oh,
Yes.
actually, before we start Marvel, very very quickly, Was it a big month for you, or was it a
There,
sparse month for
there
you?
are a few this month. There is quite a bit.
Yeah, because I felt like this was quite a chunky month when I was making me kind of list.
Yes, lots of ones. A couple of, or there's at least one collected that's coming out that I've mentioned as well. So yes, it is a big
Yeah,
month.
big un.
So the first one that jumped out on me was Captain America 1 with what is for the future for the man out of the time. Obviously a reboot after that run that you've been currently reading.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so it is wondering what they're going to be doing with this new Cap run. But the bit that gets me is where they were like the past, the future, and the present collide as the man out of time's
Reckons
reckons
with
with
an
external threats.
existential threat. Yeah.
That's the one.
Well, well, like it made my list. It did make my list. And I think I'd said it in last solicits where we had the kind of final issue of
Mm,
the previous run, and there is a little bit of a tug at my heartstrings, Chris, that we are jumping into something else. But um, despite that, I'm quite interested in it. One of the things that really interested me in it was the writer. So it's J. Michael Straczynski. Now he has. There's a particular period of time that he wrote Spider-Man, going back
mm,
probably about 15 years ago now, which is, I would say, loved and hated, possibly almost in equal measure. But for me, he's the guy who wrote Babylon 5, the TV show, and I bloody
okay.
love Babylon 5, the TV show. So I'm kind of always down for reading anything that he does.
Mm,
But I am kind of tippy toeing into it with again a bit of reticence because of my love for the last one. But yeah, I'm with you. I was like, yep, this is going in the basket. This is definitely going to be read, and uh, I've got my fingers crossed. I'm kind of hoping for um, not for him to do Babylon 5, but with Captain America in it. But that kind of long form storytelling that I thought he was so grand at in that TV show that he can bring that to
mm.
the comic books.
Yeah, it's like you saying that. Then that does sort of make me think: is there going to be some sort of not time travel in that sort of oh look we're just jumping back 500 years because we can sort of thing, but whether he'll pull, as it said there about like the past, the future, and the present colliding. Are we going to get some callbacks to old school stuff that has been forgotten? Is he one that's going to
Yeah.
look at say 50s, 60s Cap
Well,
and take some inspiration from the old days? Hopefully not. Let's find some Nazis or commies
it's
because
time to bash the Nazis again. Oh, commies would be perfect now, wouldn't it? Like I can see this actually. I think you've just hit the nail on the head. When we talk about the solicitations and the little screed, this is one of the ones that as intriguing as it is, it doesn't really give you any massive hints as to where it's going to go, does it? Like
no.
as you say, I think it's quite open, but yeah, I'm down for it. I'm down.
So what is your
Um,
first?
so my first is Predator versus Wolverine.
And of course I went
And
with that too.
well, and the thing is, look, I don't often put licensed stuff on here unless it's like Star Wars from Marvel, but I don't know, like, Marvel have been doing some great licensed stuff recently, so that instills me a bit of faith. But I've got to be honest, it was as I was scrolling down, you have the cover with Wolverine with his claws up, and you can see the reflection of the Predator, and then the other cover with the Predator with his claw up, and you can see the reflection of Wolverine. And I went, okay, you got me. Like, I'm in.
Well, obviously, I've read that the Predator run that they did
Yeah,
at the back
yeah.
end of last year, and it is really, really fucking good.
Oh, and that's on my list, by the way. I'm getting to that at some point. I just haven't got there yet.
So, seeing that and seeing added Wolverine and the first line of the solicit being "the thrill is the kill,"
And then follow that up with the bloodthirsty saga you've been waiting for. Yeah, yeah.
I'm in. It.
Oh,
I think because
And,
this is only a 4 issue run, I
yeah,
will wait until it's all up
yeah, I
on.
think I might be with you. As much as, yeah, it's ding 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 on my list. I think I'll do the job lot of it. I think.
Yeah, because of it, as I say, because of it only being a 4 issue run, I think that's going to be one of those of I will wait for the whole thing to be done and I can do it in one hit because I can
Yeah,
guarantee I'll get to the end of the first one and be like, but I've got to wait a
more
month. No, no, no.
more please.
Want it
Yeah,
now.
yeah. And I I don't know. It actually kind of makes sense as well, doesn't it? You know, like I know Aliens and Predator have not only crossed over with each other, but multiple different licenses along the way. But something just feels so snug and right about this. I
Yeah.
almost like it is that bit where I kind of go, "Oh yeah, I didn't realize how much I wanted to know who would win in a fight between Predator and Wolverine, but I bloody do." I, I hope they don't fuck it up though. Like what I don't want is I don't want loads of ancillary human characters. Just let them fight.
I want Wolverine, a badass motherfucking predator with
Yeah,
some lower rands as some cannon fodder because we've got to have a bit of cannon fodder for some death. And we then work up to 3 issues of a massive fuck off fight.
well, I'll totally accept it kind of being set in like the Canadian wilderness during snowy times and things like that. And you know me, never want to see an animal come to harm, but you know, like maybe the predators are coming down and fighting bears and things like that, and that's where Wolvie gets involved. But yeah, if 2.5 issues of this is about some twee human. So that the audience has got someone to feel about. No, I don't need
No,
that in this. I need Wolverine and Predator to kick 10 bells of shite out of each other.
and there to be murder.
Yeah, yeah.
I
And
want
bearing
to
in
see a
mind,
murder.
with his healing factor, you say there needs to be like murders. Well, actually, it can be Wolverine over and over again. And but
So my next one is Daredevil one.
yeah, on my
Um,
list as well. Yep.
Obviously reading the. I don't think it was the last one. It was the run before. Is the one that I've been reading,
Yeah, yeah,
and obviously doing the Frank Miller stuff and the other bits and pieces for this sort of last year has really made me enjoy Daredevil again.
yeah,
So obviously a new person handling it. I'm intrigued to see how they do it and what they do with it.
yeah.
Um, Obviously, this could be one of those of where it does fall off a cliff if I don't vibe with what they're doing with it. But it's a number one, so I'm intrigued
In
to see the new thing.
in recent years, and I say recent, actually not recent, but inclusive of recent, Daredevil has just had an amazing run after amazing run after amazing run. Like nearly every time a new creative team has come on it, people look like X amount of issues in have gone, wow, I loved the last run and I didn't think anything could top that. And I have. And it almost seems to be a project now that writers are coming on and going, well, I better do some of my best work on this because
Yeah,
I'm following a great one. And yeah, I'm intrigued by it. Still got tons to go on the Chip Zdarsky run, which I'm loving. But bearing in mind, I know that that's going to end. But I think we talked about that last month where we said it seems to me like it's ending when he wants it to end. He's told
yeah,
his story, and yeah, damn right, I'm in for what comes next after that.
yes. So what's your next pick?
Uh, I mean, one of the reasons why I think it's so jam packed is that there's a lot of number ones this month, and for me it was Avengers Inc. number one, partially because of the covers. I love the style of the covers, that kind of very noir ish, and it's her name is Janet Van Dyne. She's a hero. She's a celebrity. She's hunting a killer, which is the Wasp. His name is Victor Shade. He's a villain. He's an enigma. He just got killed, and together they're about to solve every mystery in the Marvel universe, starting with their own. I mean, how much you can get an audience to buy in and how long it runs when it sounds like it is going to be kind of akin to a bit of a murder mystery extension in the Marvel universe. Yeah, I don't know, but I want that. You know, I love my genre
Hmm.
bending stuff. Chuck in another genre when you got heroes or vice versa. Yeah. I mean, like Flynn, and as I say, the covers alone were enough for me to go, oh yes, please.
See, I looked at those covers and I thought Avengers, but not Marvel Avengers.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
thinking
and I
more
think,
the twee
yeah, yeah, and I
60s
think that's
Avengers.
kind of on some of them quite deliberate, isn't it? I think they are kind of leading into to that a little bit, and I don't know that made me down. That made me down for it. I've got to be honest. I think of all the Marvel ones, I think this is the one that floated my boat the most. I think this would kind of almost be my top of the Marvel solicits.
Mm.
But yeah, right in for that. Right in for that.
Ooh. So my next one is Silver Surfer Rebirth Legacy, number one. Obviously, going on my hit of old school Silver Surfer that I've been going through, so going back right back to the original. I do love me a bit of Silver Surfer. This being only a 5 issue run as well. Usually with Silver Surfer, I've seen a lot of the miniseries do a good story because they know exactly what it
Yeah.
is they want to do. Because Silver Surfer is one of those of in longer runs can drop off a bit of quality because you're like, what are you doing with him? He's just floating around for an issue because we need to fill an extra issue. But yeah, this one got me with the idea of that he's got Captain Marvel, son Giannis, uh, as his little buddy. Someone I've never heard of. So
So he had like a I'm gonna say chunky run, but Peter David wrote a great run of his, and I love it. It's fantastic. And one day on a not a solicit show, we'll either read a bit of that or we'll pick up on that because there's some interesting stories around it. It almost got cancelled lots of times. It was very
mm,
critically acclaimed, but struggled on sales often, and it's in a period of time of Marvel where the president, Bill, I think he's the president, Bill Jemas, like almost put out a bit of a challenge of going, well, we'll relaunch Captain Marvel and I will do a series, and whichever one sells more will keep going.
mm,
And let's just say the one that the president did was quite interesting and quite notorious. So yeah, we'll get back to that at some point.
okay. So yeah, so said Silver Surfer always up for some of that. So we'll
So
jump on.
this didn't make my list, but almost did. So I looked at the creative team, Ron Mars and Ron Lim, and they have like they're a creative team that have been on Silver Surfer before in a period where I really love Silver Surfer. So everything's kind of thumbs up. The only reason why it didn't make my list is I think there's some other Silver Surfer series that I need to read before I get to that.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
I
I
was
think
going to
there's
say,
some other stuff by those creative teams, like historical ones, that I kind of want to get to first.
I think they're the ones that did Silver Surfer Black, the
Oh no,
Silver
that was Donny Cates
the
who did
Dedicates.
that. But I do think they've done a Silver Surfer rebirth because I think there's a couple of Silver Surfer rebirths, and I think this is kind of one.
Uh,
But and I don't necessarily think they're designed that you have to read them sequentially. But you know how sometimes us as comic book readers can get a bit OCD about these things and go,
yes.
well, I won't get to this one until I've read the 8,000 issues that are before this. So yeah, it wasn't for anything against it, but yeah, kind of didn't make my list because I went, I've probably got some more Silver Surfer I need to catch up on before I get to this.
Yes. What else do you have in the
So,
Marvel?
so I've only got, and I'm going to say one more, but it's a bit cheaty. I've got a twofer.
Yeah,
Um,
I have one left too.
yeah. So if I do me two as one because they're intrinsically linked, it's Invincible Iron Man number 10 and X-Men number 26, and I will be amazed if this isn't on your list because it's a wedding issue and you love a bloody wedding, you know you bloody do. But no, this is the wedding of Tony Stark and Emma Frost. Now, I've said on here before, I'm working my way through the X-Men. I'm about 2 years behind. So it might take me a while to get to this, but I can't wait to see how we get to this
Mm.
because this is obviously very different than the Emma Frost I know. Ain't marrying anyone. The Tony Stark I know. isn't marrying anyone, and that's a Tony Stark from the comic books. And where I am, mutants are very removed from humans.
Yeah.
So how we're going to get to this? And again, I'm imagining and I'm guessing that this might be a bit of a they're not really in love, but this is a wedding of convenience when two big power structures join together by
Good for
marriage.
the
But yeah,
publicity.
yeah. But and also and don't forget obviously for this good for the publicity to have a wedding issue as well, isn't it, on the shelves
Yeah.
and things like that. But yeah, this really jumped at me, really intrigued me, and I'm like, okay, this almost kind of reinstilled that. Come on, mate, get cracking on this X-Men stuff so you can actually start. When you see stuff in Solicits, you can actually jump onto it and go, yeah, I'm living these stories as they happen. But yeah, weddings, and weddings. Yes, please.
So my last one, I'm surprised wasn't picked up by you. Werewolf by Night.
Yeah, it was
Um,
close. It was close.
Obviously, after watching the Disney show last year, which was my first introduction into Werewolf by Night, I'd never heard of it previously. We're coming up for spooky season when these are coming
Yeah.
out, and the opening line being an unholy alliance in the shadows of a black and white night. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm in. You've got me at unholy and black and white evil knights.
I just
Come
literally just
on.
left it there. They had you at unholy. The end.
So yeah, I will obviously jump on this. It
I don't
does
know
remind
why,
me
by
that
the way. I don't know why it didn't. I had no like animosity to it, and I saw it, and I kind of went, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And I don't know. It just didn't. But now that you're talking about it, I'm warming to it. I'll be honest. Unholy,
obviously,
you say? Black and white, you say? Yes.
so yeah, it's the sacrifice of a young girl at the hands of a monster. Jack Russell and Elisa Bloodstone have to stop this and
I
kill
quite
all
like
colourful monsters.
Elsa Bloodstone in the comics as well, and much more experience. I know she's in the Werewolf by Night Marvel special,
Mm.
but um, over a period of time, she started to get featured a little bit more and kind of fleshed out. And I am quite keen on her as a character. Yeah, I cannot tell you why this didn't jump in, and maybe I pretend that it did, and we forget that of what happened in the last few minutes because yeah, I do like the character, or the characters, should I say, and you are spot on. I think we both really enjoyed that Marvel special last year. I get the feeling we're not getting a Marvel special this year unless it's really, really hidden away. So maybe this is the way for me to experience a bit of that love again.
Yes, and it does also remind me that I need to find the older ones that are on
Yeah,
Marvel and have a read because
yeah,
I love, as I said, I love the show, and I was like, I really should look into that a bit more. And then, other things happened, and reading for the show happened, and it then got forgot.
yeah. Well, I was talking about the list. Like that list is fucking millions. Pardon my French, millions. And I keep adding stuff into it, but in reality, unless I get to take 75 years off of doing anything else, I may never get to the end of that list. So yeah, sometimes things do get caught up towards the tail end, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So shall we go over to
To
DC?
DC, yeah. We'll see. But I felt like this was really chunky as well.
Yes.
I'll jump in first on this one. Going straight in with a number one. Batman and Robin, number one.
Yes.
Uh, I'm a bit off the pace
Mm.
of current Batman, but a new number one feels like a decent place to start and a jumping in spot. Although I will obviously OCD, like I said earlier, try and read everything beforehand. But yeah, even from the solicitations, this is going to be Bruce and Damien, a combination that I like with what I've read at the moment. And actually, I've recently just started reading the new 52 Batman and Robin, and I very much enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to. So the idea of jumping forward 10 years and reading what people want to do now. And it seems to very much spin out of Night Terrors as well. So I figure
Yeah,
if I'm going to be reading Night Terrors and this is spinning out of it, however and for whatever reason, yeah, sign me up. And the writer of this is the writer of Night Terrors as well. So,
yeah.
but yeah,
So
very intrigued by it.
I too had this on the list. It said obviously depending on what happens in Night Terrors, we don't know how this is going to go because obviously it's gone in the stage. It says that it's after
Yeah,
Batman versus Robin and Night Terrors. Where are Bruce and his son now? So yeah, I'm intrigued. It is in my list. What is also
yeah,
in my list is a Batman and Catwoman, the Gotham War battle lines. This one,
yeah. On mine
I'm
and all.
intrigued. I'm intrigued with this one because how the solicitation is it done is crime is down, and is that a bad thing? Obviously, I'm where I am in my Batman reading. Batman and Catwoman are married, and happily married at this point. So, are they against each other in this? As I said, I'm probably further behind than you are
Yeah.
in law. So it'd be quite interesting to see
Well,
what's going on with this. And it's said in here is like going through the multiverse through night terrors, but there's only one thing that can change the heart of stone and make Gotham safer: Catwoman. So
well, you know, like the dawn of DC, and obviously we're in the dawn of DC, and we've had lots of number ones, but um, what they've been doing is in their kind of adverts, slowly but surely they've been revealing more of this picture
mm,
and like night terrors. That was something that over like a course of a couple of months you started to see like the opening segment of the term night terrors and then the next one on it was Gotham War. So like, I think this is their big bat event, and I can't remember what it's called because my memory's bad. But they've started to kind of reveal what the next event is after that, and it's Superman related. I think it might even have Metropolis in it. And I'm liking what they're doing. Like, I know there's an argument against having this initiative where you might feel like you need to read everything, but I also so far don't think you do need to read everything in Dawn of DC. But I think it's allowed them to maybe like reinvigorate things and do events like this. And
mm,
yeah, this was on my list. It's certainly, and I can't remember what the other one was, and I didn't write it down. But there's almost like the first part of the Gotham War, isn't there? There's a Red Hood one as well, isn't there? In the
yeah,
month, and I went, yes, please. That this is probably in the Dawn of DC. If there's one event I'm gonna eat up, it's the Bat. It's the Bat family, and yeah, I get the feeling that this will be Batman versus Catwoman in some way, shape, or form, or a line will be drawn over some um, moral or some motivation. But
mm,
yes, yes, please,
yes,
get in my belly, get in
get
my
in
belly.
there. So, what is your next one of the
Um,
DCs?
so let's stick kind of Batman-y for a minute. And an issue two. I know quite rare do we ever put an issue two on here, but it's the Penguin issue two. Now, this isn't just to reinforce my love for Tom King, but it's the when I'm scrolling down the solicits and I see Penguin number two and I see the help on the cover, who we both loved from Killing Time, and then it even kind of states that in there. I went, my interest in this went from a 10 to an 11. If we're going to be getting that kind of wider Killing Time universe and people like the help and things like that, then even more in for this Penguin series than I was before.
Yeah, I didn't put it on my list because obviously I mentioned it last month, and I don't usually sort of jump in with the issue three looks better than the other ones, but yeah, I did see the help, and
Yeah.
I
Yeah, I
was
mean
there
that
was
was
a
the selling point
smile.
for me. Yeah, that was like, yeah, get him, and we loved him, didn't we? I
Yes,
think we both sort of said in a world where Batman has such an amazing pantheon of villains or even side characters, if we don't want to call him a villain, to find that people are still being added in now that are very compelling.
yeah.
Amazing job.
So my next one is another number one, and is written by Tom King. Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
So again, never really gone in on Wonder Woman to sort of read her stuff. I've read bits where she's been in other people's
Yeah.
things and things like that, but I've never. It's never been a character that's made me go, "Oh, I should jump in and read her." The fact that Tom King's doing it is enough for me to go. I will give this a go.
Yep.
Um, because if someone's going to do something with Wonder Woman, then get God tier writing it, and should be should be a decent thing. Um, so yeah, see, reading the Solicit, I didn't really sort of look at it and go, "Oh, that's going to make me want it more." It was more the fact of it being
Yeah. Well,
Tom King doing it.
there's a few Wonder Woman runs that I've read in the past, go like way back to just after Crisis on Infinite Earths and George Perez's run, which I keep telling myself I'm going to go back and read again because it's been a long time. I thought was great. John Byrne's run, like, I think it's really good and could be great. Then when we go to New 52, it was one of the best for me series is that come into the New 52. So I think there's some great runs in there.
Mm,
But yeah, I'm ready for her to get maybe since the movie, I think been focused on a little bit more in the comic books and sometimes has been in the past. Has almost, I think, sometimes been treated as the third wheel in the Trinity behind Batman and Superman. And I mean, you're gonna be, aren't you? It's Batman and Superman,
yeah.
but I kind of like it when a big character gets a big creative team. So yeah, 100% in on this. Can't wait to see what happens. I will say, I think for people who are reading the current Wonder Woman, I think people like the current Wonder Woman, and I think there's a bit of, what I said about the Cap earlier. I think there's a bit of reticence around what a shame the previous one is ending. And funny enough, I'll pick up on something else like this in a minute. But yeah, get in my belly. Give me Tom King written, Daniel Sampier the artist. Last I think I'd read of his, or and I say read of his, I was flicking through Dark Crisis, and the
Mm,
art is spectacular, and he's the artist on that. So I think we're going to get at least the attempt at something spectacular here.
yes. Do you have anything else?
Oh, I have bloody loads of DC still to go.
Yeah, I have
Um,
two left. So
Well, I say bloody loads. I think I've got five, but I think maybe some of them will cross over. To pick up on what I was just saying, to go to my next one, the Flash number one, is on there. I love the Flash as a character. He is one of the first DC characters that I read a massive chunk for.
mm,
When I started to branch away from everything being Marvel in my reading, I jumped into Flash. I jumped into Wally West being the Flash. So Wally West is my Flash, will always be my Flash. Barry Allen is a lot of people's Flash. But yeah, this is a relaunch at number one, and it is going to be centered around Wally West. He's had a bit of a rough time in recent history. We'll get to this one day, partly thanks to Mr. Tom King in what's considered one of his biggest misses by a lot of comic readers. But
mm.
um, like I said about Wonder Woman, the only thing that I worry slightly about this is the previous run was garnering a lot of critical and fan love, but it's been kind of killed. And here we go, new number one. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really intrigued in it, and I haven't jumped onto a lot of the Flash reboots over the years purely because I wanted a Wally West Flash, and I'm getting a Wally West Flash again. So, yep, totally in for this.
So as I've only got two left, and you've got a couple more. I will let you have another.
Oh, another one.
Yeah.
Let's go with Birds of Prey number one. Birds of Prey is let's say a franchise, a commodity within DC that I've always heard great things about. For a large amount of years, it was very much around Barbara Gordon being Oracle when she was in the wheelchair and arranging people. I've never read any Birds of Prey. It's on my list of shame to get to. But I went, well, okay, there's a new number one coming up. Maybe this is the time to jump in. Kelly Thompson's writing it, who I read her Black Widow run and have loved what I've read of her so
Mm,
far, and she went on to my list of you release something, I'll read it. So I've got a lot of hope from that side of it. And I look at the roster, and it's got Harley Quinn in it for you, my boy. But it looks like quite an interesting lineup. It's got Cassandra Cain, who was Batgirl at one point,
mm,
Big Barda, who is Mr. Miracle's wife, but is a part of like the Jack Kirby Fourth World. Zealot, who's from the Wildcats, Harley Quinn, and I'm missing someone. Who the hell am I missing? Oh, and Black Canary. And I
yes.
kind of go, all right, I'm in. Sign me up. Let's hope it's good, and I think I'll be along for the ride, and probably along for the ride for quite a while.
Yeah, I did look at that, but then I had flashbacks to that terrible film, which put me off that that franchise. But if
It's
something's got to
um
bring me back.
It's on my list to watch again, by the way. Not to sort of divert too much, but I'm with you. I really didn't like it, but I want to give it another go, just to see whether I shouldn't have liked it as much as I did. But I think some of my recent experience, because I watched it not long after watching Suicide Squad, and I think it might have been poisoned by that well. So I am going to give Birds of Prey the movie another go, although I'm not ever going to attempt to say the full title of it because it's got about 8,000 words in it.
Yes. So my next one, and of course it was going to be in my list. DC's Ghouls Just Want to Have Fun.
I did see that, and I did think it would make your list.
You give me a horror-based pun as a title, and again, just have my money. It is going to be, by looks of what it says in this list, it's going to be another one of those sort of anthology
Yeah,
collections that I
yeah.
do quite like. I know that you're not your cup of tea
I'm
is
not such a
more,
big fan. No, no, yeah.
but I do like an in and out with a writer given a chance to do a small story with maybe a character they've not used before. Horror based it, yes, it's up my street. Um, so we're gonna
Well,
have
we've got a Halloween. We'll do a Halloween special this year, maybe.
yes,
Ghouls Just Want to Have Fun might be part of our Halloween special this year.
yeah. So you've got Man Bat versus Werewolf, Mary Marvel and Doctor Psycho crashing Halloween parties, uh, Lobo and Crush going against Nightwing and Red Hood. So it sounds like there's going to be some
Yeah.
different characters than your usual. Here's Batman, here's Superman, here's Wonder Woman, here's Green Lantern. There's your anthology. It looks like we're going to get a bit more of a cast of characters in this one as well.
I know it's in the title, but it did read to me like this might be fun. It really did.
Yes.
Like, but yeah, like you're right. I'm not a lover of. So I'm not a lover of the anthology. I think I'm not a lover of the anthology when it's, let's say, five stories in one issue, so you're getting 5 or 6 pages. I'm not saying that it can't be done, but yeah, I think there's more rough than there is smooth in those issues. So yeah, unfortunately, I kind of went no, probably not for me. But
So
as I
back
say,
to
Halloween.
I know
It might not be for me, but we may be doing it anyway. Did I mention that there's a lot of number ones from DC this month?
there are a lot of number
Yeah,
ones this
yeah.
month.
So next up for me was Power Girl, number one, written by Leah Williams, who I don't think I've read any Leah Williams, but Power Girl's just a character that I quite like. My major experiences from when I was reading JSA, Justice Society America, in its guises when Jeff Johns was writing it, and she was often featured in that, and I just kind of took to her and quite liked her. But it's been a while since I've read anything with her in, so I would say that the solicitation for this one was a little bit blander, a little bit more generic. So it wasn't really based off of what it was saying, but it was just more a bit of a. I feel like it's time for me to read a bit of Power Go again.
Hmm.
Let's give it a go. And also there is a part of me of I think in this Dawn of DC world, obviously they've released a lot of number ones and a lot of series. Um, I'm quite keen on probably supporting some of the stuff like Power Girl. You know, like any Batman series or Superman series that comes out, you know, it's got its fan base
Guaranteed
already there.
numbers,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And sort of giving these things like at least a solid crack and hoping that they're good and hoping that I want to stay with it and enough people give it a crack that it can have a nice at least 12 but hopefully longer issue one. You know, like we said about Poison Ivy.
Yeah.
Like I guess the Swamp Thing run that Ram V did as well has kind of instilled me with a bit of confidence that in recent times DC are doing some cracking series that probably need our support to get them to the point where they might get 12, 18, whatever issues. And this kind of fit that bill for me.
So my last of DC, and again, it's Halloween and they are literally just throwing things at me that of course I want. Batman, the Gargoyle of Gotham. When you choose your own, when you chase your own shadow, it leads to your abyss. I was in on that.
I
Um,
thought you would be. I thought you would be.
again, it's Batman. Of course, I'm going to read it, and it's Halloweeny. So, from what the solicitors say, it is going on about whether Bruce Wayne is going to kill off Batman, or whether he'll kill off Bruce Wayne. He has to make the choice of which one is he going to be for good, and embrace the cowl full time. And says there's going to be some new rogues in the gallery as well, with some depraved villains becoming to emerge from the depths of the city. And how will Batman contain himself with these new versions of evil that even lurk inside the darkest corners of his own heart? So I think this is it's either a one hit or
Someone got in your brain and went, "What do you want to read?"
and the thing is they clearly have got it in my brain because it's also coming out as a noir because you know I bloody love a noir.
Yeah, yeah. Um, like going through all the solicits this month, there's lots of variant covers this month, and I know there were Zara, but there's lots of people who've got variant covers by Jim Lee, and I know Frank Miller's doing a lot of covers for Marvel this month and things like
Mm,
that. Um, this was the one, and it didn't make my list, although again it wasn't far off. But for me, I bloody love the cover of this.
yes,
Like it just looks like a gargoyle. So down that, but I just love the way it's designed is the kind of Batman is in a V, isn't it? The way that it's written, and then
yeah,
above that you've got bats on a corner like a gargoyle would be. Yeah, I thought it was massively stunning. It does say book one, so again I don't know how many books it's going to go to, but I presume that they're planning on more than book one. But yeah, like, I don't think. I imagine like your Black Label and your Elseworld stuff is that. In fact, tell a lie. I do know because I just saw it out of the corner of my eye. One of four, so it's gonna be four issues.
aha.
Yeah,
So I think this one will be a wait for them all to be there, read the whole lot, and probably won't buy them as single issues, but get it as a collective when
yeah, yeah.
that comes out because that's the sort of thing that I do love to have on a in a nice little collected edition for those sort of things.
Yeah, and like it's kind of their prestige format. So I imagine when they get to the point that they're going to be doing it as a collected, it's probably going to be a really nice collected as well.
Yeah,
Sexy shelfware, I think it will be.
yeah, and as you said, they literally have just gone into my brain and gone, what keywords do we need to tell
What
him
would
to
you like
part
to
of this
read this
money?
month, Chris? Yeah, 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 yeah. How can we put your hand in your wallet? Well, um, just a couple more for me.
Yes.
So one of them is Fire and Ice. Welcome to Smallville #1. Fire and Ice are characters from a well-loved run of mine of the Justice League of America or JLA, and that JLA Europe goes through lots of different guises over a period of time, and they don't get featured very often. It was a very popular run, but once Grant Morrison come on and re-established the JLA in there, Superman, Batman, Green Lantern, like kind of that era of the Justice League melted away, and every now and again they kind of get reused, but yeah, not used enough. So for me, I went, okay, it's nice to see two characters that I like get highlighted. It's only 6 issues, so it's going to be a sort of 6 issue story, and um, ultimately Superman sent them to Smallville after they do something really bad in a mission. So I guess they're almost uh, admonished and sent for detention in Smallville to a degree. Not their fault, by the way, when it went wrong. It was Guy Gardner, the other one of the other characters from the JLA that would, or from the JL Europe that would mess stuff up. But they are oft used for comedy, so that run
Mm.
had a lot of humour in it. It felt almost like a sitcom version of superheroes. So yeah, I saw that and went, yeah, please. Every now and again, I want to not like the genre bending that we talk about on some of the other stuff, but I want a bit of humour in it. And
Yeah,
I want it to scratch a different itch, and this feels like it would scratch that different itch for me.
and as you say, if they're characters that are not often used, if it sells well or gets, as I said, we don't know
Yeah.
how they work out on like the apps and stuff on how, I don't know if it's how many times it's opened or whatever. But if it's getting
Yeah, I
clicks and
presume so.
views on
Yeah,
there, they
yeah,
that might mean that they
yeah.
bring and use them a bit more often.
Yeah, yeah, and like possibly it leads to, if this is well received and people realise that there's still a lot of love for that era of the Justice League, might be another kind of s- secret to the side Justice League with these characters again.
Yeah,
At one point, I would love to do it as a show, and I know we've got so much stuff to kind of already queued up, but I would love to probably go back to the beginning of that and get you to kind of read some of that Justice League stuff, because it is just very different to what we're used to as your big front and center superhero, biggest superhero team in its universe. They do
mm.
go very, very different and off kilter with it, but it is very good. And last but by no means least, but the final number one I'm picking out is Green Lantern War Journal number one. Written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, a writer that I want to read a lot more of. Heard very good things about certainly his Action Comics run, and this one's going to be focused on John Stewart. And I said earlier about who my Flash is.
Yeah,
I never felt like I've necessarily had a Green Lantern that is mine. So I started reading Green Lantern at the tail end of Hal Jordan. And I have experience of Green Lantern as Guy Gardner from the Justice League, and I think the one that I've read the least of is John Stewart, and this feels like the time to get my John Stewart on.
mm.
And I've often got the impression that when there've been runs of him or limited series of him, that it tends to take a little bit more of that space cop political important line. So it's a
Yeah,
bit less of the superhero stuff. And again, I don't know if this will be it, but I want to give it a go to get me some John Stewart in my life.
yes. So we shall now go to Dark Horse,
Dark Horse.
and I have three for Dark Horse. The first being The Alternatives,
Oh,
um, a tale of costumed underdog heroes who have a support group as they struggle to reclaim their mediocre lives after tasting their true potential. Such joyous characters as Mary the Multi Monster, the Trapper, Crab Louie, Kid Curious, Persona are all offbeat B-list superheroes. I'm
what was
like,
the crab one's name again?
Crab Louie.
Oh well,
Yeah, the cover looks interesting. The idea of struggling superheroes that aren't have had their taste of glory and are trying to re-get that. I'm intrigued by this and what they can do with that. And the thing is, someone like Image and Dark Horse and these independent types could jump in and do some really cool stuff.
Crab Louie looks cool as well. Just see him on the
Yeah,
cover.
and it's written by the guy who did Hack and Slash, Tom
Yes, yeah,
Steely.
yeah. And
Um,
Patton Oswald's involved as well, isn't he? Like
yeah,
TV's Patton Oswald.
so
I
yeah,
don't know
it's
if
got
that's a good thing or a bad thing, but he is involved.
yeah, it said it's one of those of the idea and the premise of behind that. I am intrigued to get the first issue and have a look because that's the thing with obviously the indies. There's not the app that we can wait for them, so it is a case of jumping in on that first issue.
Yeah, and sometimes as we said, like sometimes they can have quite low print runs. So if you don't jump quickly, you don't at all, or you're waiting for the trade. Which
Yeah,
I think both of us have said before. We're never too worried about like going into the trade waiting part, but yeah, sometimes it's nice to get the comic in front of you at the time when it comes out, isn't it?
yeah, and the thing is, especially with these sort of indie ones, I don't mind chucking 2, 3 quid in my out to get an issue one
Yeah, yeah.
because then if I do
It
like
feels
it,
like
I
it's
can
going
either
right into the creator's pocket that have taken that risk themselves, haven't they? They've kind of put
yeah.
themselves out there and gone, I've got a story to tell, and I'm gambling a bit that whether anyone wants to come along with me for it.
And that's the thing. It's like at that point you can then decide, oh, I do like this, even, but do I like it enough that I need to get every issue as it comes out, or am I just going to get the trades as they come out? Sometimes they grab you and you have to have them as soon as they come out, like Do a Powerbomb did for me last
Yeah,
year.
yeah, yeah.
And then you get others that are like, no, I just want it in a book and give me all of it at once.
And funny enough, it didn't make my list, but because the solicits I have has every other thing from them in September, didn't have this. So
Ah,
now, but now that you said it, and I've gone to like the Dark Horse website and had a look at it, that's why I said Crab Louie looks cool. Yeah, I've got no idea about why the solicits I had didn't have this one on it, but it would have made my list. I'm as intrigued as you are,
it was the
but yeah, it
first
did
one on my list.
well. And then again, I just everyone I've looked at subsequently has had it first on everyone's list, but yeah, for whatever reason, the one that I picked didn't have it, so I wasn't aware. But yeah, totally in. I'll join you on that adventure. I had from Dark Horse Tear Us Apart #1. Yeah. Very simple cover, isn't it? With like hands doing the heart bit. But
Yeah.
let's be honest. I know you said earlier about Batman, Gargoyles of Gotham, get in my pocket. I got as far as deep in the Canadian wilderness, a vicious cult, and I went, dumb. I'm there. I mean,
Yep.
Canadian wilderness, I love cults, fascinated, but in I don't know the creative team at all. It's not they're not none of them are names that I kind of go, oh god, I don't remember them. But yeah, this feels like could be an absolute winner for me, and very very intrigued to get it in my hands, and I hope it's as good as I want it to be.
Yeah, I saw this, saw the word cult, and was like, okay,
Yeah,
I'll get
yeah.
feed me a cult.
Yeah, and there is more words to it. They're training children to be assassins, but yeah, stop at cult. That's it.
Yeah,
I'm in. Like,
an army of murderers.
yeah, yeah,
You give me cult army of murderers who want a taste of blood.
yeah, yeah.
I'm in.
I think. I mean, it's a mini series, and I must admit, in the solicit I've got, it didn't tell me how many issues it was going to run.
I think it
But
said 6 in the
I
one
was
I
gonna
was
say, yeah, I
reading.
imagine 5, 6, something like that. And I go, okay, let's see what the creative team has to offer, and let's get a nice. Well, we'll probably know after issue #1 if we want to carry on, but let's hope that we get a nice, contained 6 issue story that we both really enjoy.
Yeah. The last one for me in Dark Horse, Masters of the Universe, Forge of Destiny. I do love me some He-Man, and I haven't read any He-Man since that He-Man Thundercats crossover that was on Marvel.
Yeah,
randomly. So yeah, so oh no, it wasn't Marvel, it was DC. So
But yeah,
see,
no, yeah, you're right. Yeah, it
World
was
of
DC, wasn't it?
Eternia,
Yeah.
the fragile balance between science and magic, and the balance is kept there by the universe's mightiest hero, He-Man. I'm in. Give
You know
me
what?
more
I'm not
He-Man.
sure. I'm not sure. It didn't make my list, but I've been past it. I'm not sure if I've ever read any He-Man. I've read the comic. Well, I've read the comics. I watched the cartoons, but I'm not sure whether I've ever read any He-Man comics. And I did quite like that cartoon, but I don't know. Just it's not in me. You know, I was banging on about how excited I am that Transformers is coming back.
Yeah,
And bearing in mind it's not been gone for long. You know, the comics coming out about 3 months ago for it. But I don't know. He Man's just not a franchise that gets me excited for comic books. But I will be really intrigued to find out whether it's any good from you because I think I could find myself getting excited about it.
yeah.
Just I don't initially get excited about it.
So yeah, so what you think you with Transformers,
Yeah.
the He-Man for me.
See, I
Yeah,
think like if I looked at like in my head, I'd go Transformers comic, Thundercats comic, He-Man comic, GI Joe comic. Like from kind of the big four, I guess. Like that's how
yeah.
it would go in my mind. But yeah, He-Man would be miles above GI Joe, by the way.
G.I. Joe's whatever, but
Yeah. But yeah, I think Thundercats would jump above He-Man for me as well. But yeah,
so
I'm really
if
intrigued. I'm really
Thundercats
intrigued to see
comes
what it's
out,
like.
then that's a game changer. That's
Yeah.
another one of shut up and take my money.
I didn't have anything in Dark Horse other than Tear Us Apart and now Stealing the Alternatives because it wasn't on the one that I saw.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, did you have any more for it
No,
from it?
that is it for Dark Horse. So we'll go on to Boom.
Boom! I'm pretty
Um,
sure I had something for Boom. I'm
the
pretty sure.
first the
Ah,
first
yes, I did.
one is not so much for me, but it's more of a reminder for me because I'm probably gonna have to go and buy this for a certain person and Festivus. Labyrinth Beyond the Goblin City as a trade paperback, a collection of a series of in the world of the labyrinth. So we get Sidimius and Jareth and Ludo and Hoggle and all the greats from one of the greatest films of the 80s. And I know of a certain person that's probably going to be one of their Christmas presents. It's all right. She doesn't
Well,
watch it. It's fine.
I'm just having a look now because I didn't notice this. And I am equally as intrigued. I bloody love Labyrinth. I think I would add this on as well, like because it's a collector's, it's soft cover, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm keen on this.
Yeah. Sometimes you
Yeah, I
see
just didn't
them and you're
notice
just
it.
like just as a mental reminder to myself. So
Featuring the secret history of Sir Didymus. Oh,
yeah.
this is. I'm in. I'm in.
So what do you have for the boom?
One from the boom. I won't
Ah,
go into it too much because we talked about it last month, but it is the actual full first issue of Rare Flavors this month. It was the Ashcan version last month,
yeah.
wasn't it? But yeah, Ramvi and Felipe Andrade's new series. If you haven't read the Many Deaths of Lady Star, buy it, read it, and then come back here in September and join me to start reading their next, what I can only imagine will be beautiful and amazing story. This time based around demonic food. Let's
Yes.
go with that. Yeah, yeah,
It's two in my list as well, but I knew that I would let you wax lyrical
yeah,
about it
yeah,
more
yeah,
than I
yeah.
can.
Well, and as I say, like last we did go into it last solicit, so go back to there to hear us talk about it. But yeah, you know it now that it's the official number one, then yeah, definitely buying it.
So I have one more for Boom. Stuff of Nightmares, Red Murder. Um, so this is a horror comic from Alex Okada, Oxia. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. It's a weird spelling. Red Murder was a comic from the early 2000s. It's getting a 20th anniversary reboot. Real axe murderers, hatchet wielding killers, chopping down victims. I'm like, yeah, you had me at murder, and then hatchets and axes and murder. Where do I
It's like
sign up?
it's like Murder on Speed, isn't it? Very famous writer as well, isn't it? It's, R.L. Stein's writing it. He's the guy who wrote all the Goosebumps novels. Um,
Ah,
yeah. I was intrigued. I did look at this and I did think about it. Because I quite like. I've seen the movies of Goosebumps. I quite like them. I've never read any of the Goosebump books, and I want to say I'm sure he did a show on Netflix that I really liked. Can't remember what it is. Bad memory, but yeah, I was intrigued. I don't not enough for it to kind of jump. I think I thought to myself, I'll probably wait to see what reviews are like of this and then pick it up as a collected if the
mm,
reviews are good. But yeah, I'm quite interested when authors or TV writers or movie writers come in to write a comic. But yeah, not quite enough there for me to to put it on the list. But yeah, I can see why it made your list.
so I'm getting a bit predictable this month. There's death, murder. So
God, Jesus, what we're going to be like when Halloween month comes out? It's been the longest solicit show ever. It'd be like everything that mentions Halloween, horror, death, hats,
so going to Image, and this
image.
one is something I already have on pre-order.
Hmm?
It is Dark Ride Volume 2.
Ah, cool. Yeah, 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 yeah.
We are getting issues 5 to 8 in a lovely little paperback. And after how much I absolutely loved the first one, I am just now waiting for September to roll around so I can gobble up some more evil in
Yeah.
Devilland.
I mean, didn't make mine because I haven't read volume one yet, but yeah, I can see why it made yours. I go, yeah, I'm just jumping straight to volume two. And my first one's collected as well. Mine's Black Cloak Volume One, which is Kelly Thompson written. It's a creator-owned series at the moment, and Andrea Sorrentino on art. Really like Andrea Sorrentino's art, but I think it sort of was being solicited before we were doing solicit shows, so I don't think we've
Yeah,
covered it before. But I've heard great things about it, and I've kind of been tempted to pick it up digitally, but I've gone no. This smacks to me of wait for the trade because you weren't there when issue one came out. I didn't notice it. Wait for the trade. A fantasy sci-fi blend, so I quite like that. I'm loving what Kelly Thompson's writing, and what is it? Combines elements of sci-fi, fantasy, and noir into something wholly original and compelling. Move over Saga. This is my new obsession, and Saga's just a wonderful series. So if you're gonna if it's going to be compared to things like that, then yeah, definitely that first trade is going to get into my probably Amazon basket and get into my house as soon as it can be.
yes. So I have one last thing from Image, and that
Yeah,
is Kill Your Darlings.
I also have Kill Your Darlings.
Uh, 8-year-old Rose loves nothing more than to play pretend in the magical land of her own creation. But you look at the cover and you see that there is death, and the lines between fantasy and reality disappear. An ancient hunger will feed again.
Yeah,
Yes, this is going to
yeah,
be more evil
I
maybe.
really liked the solicit, by the way. I did. You know, like we said, sometimes like you get very little from it, and you find out. I think with Marvel and DC, they kind of go, "You're going to come along for the character, so let's not spoil the story." But I thought this was a really intriguing solicit, and also like you said about the covers, I really like the covers. Not to be kind of caught up in that I'm so easily led, but you know that's we've talked about this before. Covers are often that thing, aren't they? They're the first selling tool you've got, and if you can capture my attention with a
Mm,
cover, and especially, I kind of like the way I don't think I've ever said this on here before, how they lay out the font on the main cover, and it really kind of drew me in. It's the pink cover, and I was just like, I couldn't have scrolled past it because I went, oh, I must stop and look at this. What is
yeah.
this? And then I read the solicit. So yeah, this one grabbed me. Again, don't know the creative team, but that premise was enough to really interest me. And yes, they got me with their dirty, filthy advertising stroke crack addict ways.
So do you have anything else left?
One last one from Image, and I can't go a month without saying the name Jeff Lemire on Solicits. But there is Jeff Lemire and another writer, Matt Kint, writing together. They've written stuff together before, and it's I say one shot, but original graphic novel, Cosmic Detective. And so it says. When a god is murdered, who solves the crime? Enter our detective. The murder of a god threatens to tear apart the very fabric of our reality, and only he stands in the way of utter destruction. Will the mystery he uncovers be worse than the disaster he's trying to avert? And will his mind crack under the revelations he's about to uncover before he can do anything about it? Now, I've said before, I love Jeff Lemire. I love his writing. I have read so few Matt Kint, and I keep meaning to.
Mm,
So I would say that my experience or my knowledge from what I have read is Matt Kint is like Jeff Lemire, but oft goes a little bit more left field. And I think when they come together, I'm hoping that it's a kind of a beautiful relationship where it's allowed to have its requisite amount of lunacy, but never losing the kind of heart and interest of the story. But the actual solicit really sold me on it. I thought I love a bit of detective stuff, and a god's been murdered and things like that. I go, yep, sign me up.
yeah. I did see that one. I was like, hmm. It was. I was on the fence on it,
Yeah,
but I did think that
yeah,
you'd jump on it so it'd get mentioned. So
yeah. Well, you know, like we kind of joke about like what floats our boat, and I think the more we do this, the more we kind of know what floats each other's boats, and you could almost, I mean, maybe at one point we do the I'll pick your solicits, you pick my solicits episode.
so that is everything that will be coming our way
Cracking
in
month as
September.
well. You know, we said earlier, like there's a lot. It was really cracking. I think this is since we've been doing the solicits. I think this is the most that has sort of jumped out at me, and stuff was really interested in as well. Yeah, a
Yeah,
top month for solicitations.
and so there are obviously all the indie stuff that is on the list. I will be contacting my local comic book shop, Abstract Sprocket,
Support
as,
your local comic shops.
as everyone should do,
Yeah.
to make sure they get them in for because I will be all over those.
By the way, bit of irony there. There's me earlier saying I might pick them up digitally and I might buy them from Amazon. Support your local comic shops. I don't have a local comic shop that I use. I'm not a big fan of my local comic shop, so but
But you know, you have to come down to Norwich and go my way.
yeah, yeah.
So obviously, always comments down there. Anything that we've picked out that floats your boat, tickles your pickle.
Or anything we missed.
Yes.
You know, what have we missed? What's that mega exciting thing that's happening? And bearing in mind, caveat as usual, there will be lots of issues that we haven't touched on that will be in a run, and it's runs that we're reading. We tend to only kind of stick to kind of bigger events, i.e., something new, or where there's a creative team change or a big new
Mm.
storyline. So there will be many other things that we were reading this month, but these are our key. Oh, this, as you say, tickled our pickles.
New and shiny. As always, like, subscribe, ring the bell, all the YouTubey things. And until next time, goodbye.